following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Have you recovered yet, folks? Wow. That was a wild weekend of Big 12 football. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you. We're unpacking all of it over the next 2 hours here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Sunday to all of you, Alex. Man, we got so much to get to over these next 2 hours.
Oh, Mitch, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got tons to jam on, and, of course, the Big 12 keeps delivering. And last night it was the shock at Rice-Eccles Stadium that I think got us here locally. So let's kick things off here with the game breakdown with Utah's first loss at home at night in a blackout game to an unranked opponent since the 2017 season. Kyle Whittingham does not lose these games very often. Arizona came in ready. Here is what happened in that game last night.
The Utah Utes post-game analysis.
All right, let's fire it off here. I mean, part of the storyline, of course, Mitch, is Cam Rising sitting on the sidelines. And if you are a Utah Utes fan, you've been able to cobble together a couple of big wins. And Isaac Wilson with his third start of his career, and it was his worst start of his career. Shockingly, at home against an Arizona team that was struggling quite a bit. Now, Mitch, the bye week, you know what I think that Arizona did? They absolutely just said, we think we know what's going on here. I don't think Cam Rising's throwing this football. It's going to be Isaac Wilson. Let's prep to just go at this freshman. They did it. 23-10, 10 points for the Utes at home. They lose by almost a 2-touchdown margin to the Wildcats. I don't know which part is the most shocking on this one, Mitch. When you look at the stat lines, it was a weird game to watch. It never had any flow to it. Isaac Wilson was under pressure quite a bit. He threw a bunch of bad balls, including a couple interceptions, at least two. So, my goodness, it was a rough night for Utah, rough night for Isaac Wilson, and the first loss of the season for the Utah Utes in the Big 12.
And it could have been worse because Arizona was settling for a lot of field goals, and this was a game where Utah struggled throughout. And Arizona's physicality in the secondary was a huge difference, and the physicality up front, as you noted, where Isaac Wilson was taking a lot of hits. He got sacked, 3 times in this game, and Utah generated 0 sacks. So, Arizona, what makes this shocking, if we were talking about Arizona last year, it wouldn't be a surprise. But it was surprising because Arizona just got ripped to shreds in Manhattan. Kansas State destroyed them 31-7, and it looked like all the momentum that Arizona football had built as a program was lost in the Little Apple. Anything that they did last year was just gone. And to do this at Utah after a bye week, you're on to something, Alex. I mean, it felt like they were just geared up for Isaac Wilson, and they maybe dove into his Corner Canyon film. It felt like they just knew every move that he was going to make, and Utah just had no answers. And it highlights the challenges that you do face with a true freshman. Like, he has some brilliant moments, as he did in Stillwater, and what he's done in the non-conference. But the thing is that with a true freshman, you'll have some lows. And for a team that had its eyes set on the playoff, and that's still in the cards. I mean, that's the great thing about the 12-team playoff era. But to take a loss, I mean, that's what comes with playing a true freshman at quarterback, and that's why I think so many Ute fans right now want Cam Rising back because – when they have him, they are just a well-oiled machine where you're going to have some peaks and valleys with the true freshman.
Right, and Arizona was the defense of the night. I mean, my goodness, the amount – I know Dorian Singer got his. I think he had over 150 yards receiving on the evening, and you get that kind of work from him. And even Mekhi Bernard was running well. He was over 6 yards per. They just didn't have the ball that often, so they wouldn't convert on third downs. And I'll tell you what else was the worst part of the game, if you're a Utah Utes fan, you get down inside the 5-yard line in the first quarter twice, and you get Not 3 points,
Yeah.
not 6 points, not 14. How about 0 out of those two? I mean, that's the difference of the game. You punch it in on those 2 times. And by the way, it's them handing the ball off to Mekhi Bernard. It's them throwing the ball and having it defended well. Pretty decent throwing ball. But again, those are signature Kyle Whittingham deals. Going forward on 4th down, that's what you're going to get inside the red zone. That's what you're going to get inside the 5, from your guys, because they tend to win that battle. But you know what? Arizona, to their credit, they had better play in the trenches. You pointed it out, Mitch. Three sacks for Arizona to Utah's 0. Like, if you were to tell me that's how this thing was going to go down, that the Utah defense at home on a blackout night would have 0 sacks and the opposing team would have 3. And while 3 is not a ton, I'll tell you what it is it's I mean, it just showed that they were, 1, pushing them around, 2, defending well enough on the back end to be able to make sure that Isaac Wilson, wasn't able to find his guys open all the time. And this is with Noah Fafita, by the way, not having some outrageous night last night either, Mitch. So Noah Fafita, though, I will tell you, he looked more like the Noah Fafita from last year that we were used to seeing, and really from game 1 when they put up 60 or whatever it was against New Mexico. So you saw a couple things happen in the Big 12. One, Arizona shows up and they get the win. And by the way, Arizona loses to Kansas State. They get the doors blown off, and that is a no harm, no foul game. You know what they are right now is undefeated in Big 12 play. That's the whole thing about these non-conference games, which is also an interesting deal for us, is to watch how this thing goes down. And now Utah's 1-1, 4-1 on the season, licking their wounds. They were ranked 10th going into this game. When these rankings come out today, Mitch, that is going to be absolutely fascinating for this Big 12 conference.
It definitely is. And when Isaac Wilson last night completed that touchdown pass to Caleb Lohner, were you with me, Alex, and thought, okay, Utah's turning it on. They're going to win this
Here it goes.
game.
100%.
It felt like the momentum was shifting. 11 and change left. It was a 1-possession game. Utah's going to pull away and get this done. But that 3rd and 11 play from Noah Fafita, he takes a massive hit, and it looked like he got banged up. He was limping a little bit. It looked
like his leg was going to be broken in half. My heavens, it was awful looking.
And Devin Hyatt for Arizona comes up with the grab with Smith Snowden covering him, 41-yard grab, and then 3 plays later, Noah Fafita throws a brilliant ball. To your point, Noah Fafita looking like Noah Fafita last year. He completes a 35-yarder to Kean Burnett, and that was the dagger. And Utah just never had an answer after that. But I really thought in that moment when Lohner, yet again, is a touchdown target for Utah, I thought that was the moment where, okay, Utes are going to turn it on, and they're going to find a way to get this win. But credit to Arizona for responding and always having the answers. And that's again, an example of why it matters to have a veteran quarterback that's not going to be phased. Isaac Wilson was rattled, clearly, and he had no answers tonight against a more physical Arizona team. And that is something, Alex, that we just did not expect to say many times in this league for the Utes.
Yeah, and especially this early in the season, I think that you were waiting to maybe have Utah get its footing under them. And against an Arizona team that we had all kind of looked at and said, well, that was cute by you guys to be mentioned as contenders, but this squarely puts Arizona back in that conversation, doesn't it? Especially because of the no harm, no foul. You lose to Kansas State, fine. Utah beats Baylor, and no one cares about that game either. So that one doesn't go on your stats. And then you don't get the win in conference with that. And on the flip side, Arizona doesn't get that loss in conference, which is going to come up huge at the end of the year for Arizona. It pays so much more to lose a non-conference game than it does or that non-conference conference game that a couple of these teams have had, than it does to win it. Winning it doesn't give you anything really. Losing it, it's like, that's fine. We don't lose anything on this one either. So it's another weird wrinkle this year. But the biggest Kyle Whittingham head scratcher for me tonight was, first of all, 6 for 15 on 3rd down isn't an awesome stat for the Utes. They held Arizona to 4 for 13 on 3rd down. That's a very Utah stat too. Like, they are phenomenal on 3rd downs and keeping opponents from not converting. But they went 0 for 4 from 4th downs this evening. They went, like, Kyle Whittingham converts. They were 80% going into this game last night. And 0 for 4 tonight, that's the difference. And I think 0 for 4 is also an indicator as to who's running your plays on the field and trying to get you those extra yards. Now, some of them to Isaac Wilson to defend him a little bit. he had to, trying to convert on a 4th and 8 because you're really trying to force it. That's a lot. 4th and 2, you hand the ball off and you don't get it. I mean, maybe it could have thrown a ball better, but some of these he was put in a bad spot. Andy Ludwig was up against it last night, and to try to ask a freshman to come back and come from behind to bring the team, out of this weird funk on offense that they were having last night, and they never got it back after that touchdown to Loner, but. My goodness, it was a strange one in Salt Lake last night. The fans were absolutely shocked, and that was on a night that the fans were out, obviously in crazy force. And they were doing a phenomenal job. And it's almost like Arizona's like, we already planned for this, man. Like we know what it's like up there, So they handled it pretty well. I think they had the one time I thought they were going to get caught with a procedure penalty. It ended up being a delay of game on Junior Tafuna, a veteran that you don't want to have that happen to, during the game. So, anyway, lots of things just I'm pouring out of my head here, Mitch. But in the end, Utah scores 10 points at home. Isaac Wilson looks beyond pedestrian, looked very freshman. And then, you see an Arizona team that's absolutely buoyed up now. And I'm wondering what the voters are going to do, the AP voters are going to do with Arizona, who has a loss, but it's the Kansas State. Like this, and they beat Utah, number 10 Utah at home. Nobody does that.
And this is when Brett Yormark says deepest conference in America, it has this argument for situations like this where everyone's just beating up on each other. Yes, you don't have the Alabama-Georgia showcase like we saw last night, and that was an epic game. But you've got really good football in this conference, but Utah – falls in this one. But, man, a bye week comes at the perfect time, and I think the importance of Cam rising rears its ugly face again. You thought they kind of turned a corner where they were not reliant on Cam, and that they've kind of turned the page that, okay, if he's there, fantastic. But if not, we got this young guy who's going to be flying high with this Utah team to take them to the heights that they expect. And that was a big step back last night in the bye week. Will be critical for this team to get healthy and hopefully get Cam Rising back for another run here in the Big 12 to bounce back.
Yeah, let's take our first break here. We'll come back. We had this game breakdown. We will jump into Kalani Sitake's press conference after their massive win down at Baylor in Waco yesterday. The Cougs are 5-0, and Kalani's reaction to a very weird game also. So you can't have a normal game. It's the Big 12, not allowed. Can't have one that just goes straight forward or go like you think it's going to. So we'll come back. We've got more to go. Our program brought to you by Macy's Happy Shopping. Thanks for being with us. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. More to go around the corner. Stay with us.